Hey, welcome back to Garage Gym Life. Today we're going to talk all about insurance and what that has to do with the fact that you have a home gym. I am not an insurance guy, but I happen to have one. Tevis Upton. So we're going to go in here, we're going to pick his brain. I'm going to suck all the knowledge out. Let's go. Okay, Tevis, so how long have you been doing insurance?
18 years.
18 years, okay. And you've worked for multiple companies.
I've represented State Farm, and I'm in my 11th year as an All-State agent.
Awesome. So you are the perfect person to come to, besides the fact that you're my own personal agent.
Right.
So I trust you. First thing I want to talk about is, like, a lot of times you have people who have all this home gym equipment, but we never consider what it would take to protect it in case you had a disaster like the fires that they had in California or some sort of flooding or anything like that. A lot of this stuff is in basements. So what are the things to consider if you want to protect your home gym equipment? Because, like, I know in my house, you and I were talking, I've got at least $5,000 worth of stuff there that would be difficult to replace just in one fell swoop if I had to.
The good news is that there's not a limitation on gym equipment, and there's not a category where you would need to schedule these items. For example, jewelry, firearms need to be scheduled because there are limitations on those items. But with home gym equipment, free weights, barbell, bench press, big expensive equipment like you mentioned you have, those are going to be automatically covered under the homeowner's policy.
Right.
The key, though, is videoing or recording the items that you have so that if there were to be a loss,
Okay.
you could prove to the claims adjuster specifically what you had and to how expensive it was.
Okay.
Because if you have several $1,000s worth of gym equipment,
Right.
the claims adjuster may want evidence, receipts, or photos or video that you do indeed have.
Especially if it's something that has to do with something that most people would not have. So,
Yes.
let's say I go find some vintage York barbell equipment or something like that, or some BFCO old plates from the 40s or 50s.
Correct.
You know, that's not going to be something that's almost an antique.
That's right.
So that's not going to be something that would be. I'd have to have photos of that to prove.
You should. You definitely should. Anyone that has extensive amounts of equipment in their home needs to video what they have and put it maybe in a safety deposit box.
Now, what sort of documentation would you need to have as far as the cost, the replacement value of that item? You got a picture of it, but
Right.
how do you prove how much it's worth?
That's a little bit easier to do because claims adjusters typically go online to determine values of anything.
Okay.
So that's not as difficult to do. But what you have and how much of it you have, that's the important key.
Okay. All right. And then another thing that comes up fairly often is the fact that a lot of us, while we are introverted, sometimes we have one or two friends who like to come out and work out with us. Mm-hmm. And the thing that always strikes me is, while it's not necessarily a business, because if you start a business in your garage, you need to get business insurance.
That's right.
But if it's not a business, it's just a lifting club, it's just an exercise club, people like to come over and work out with you, you still might want to have additional protection in case of an accident. Could you discuss why that is?
Yes, I really view it just like if you or I threw a party and we had a gathering of people at our home and someone got hurt, hit their head, or broke some limbs or something serious, and they determine that they need to sue you.
Right.
Homeowners' policies automatically include $100,000 worth of liability or lawsuit protection, I like to call it.
And that's depending on the state.
That is depending on the state, yes.
Okay.
You're probably right. But I don't view that as adequate liability protection or lawsuit protection. I typically like to see at least $300,000 on a homeowner's policy itself, and then depending on someone's assets, we often talk about an umbrella policy or a personal umbrella policy to provide simply excess liability insurance over and above that $100,000 or $300,000, the underlying limits on homeowners.
Right.
So if someone were to injure themselves and it were to be pretty severe and they determine that they're going to sue you, being that you own a home, more than likely have income, maybe other assets that are exposed, you're going to get sued, and it's probably going to be for several $100,000. So the umbrella is important to come into play and provide that additional lawsuit protection so that you would be okay and you could survive that lawsuit.
That's important to think about, because let's say you do strongman training, all right? And so somebody comes over and you're showing them how to do an Atlas stone. Even if you're not necessarily charging them, an Atlas stone is heavy, it's bulky, it's unwieldy. Right. And so then they're doing Atlas stone loading, which is high repetition, and form's gonna start breaking down. Anything can happen, and it's not necessarily that they might sue you, but now they're hurt, maybe they can't work. So now their wife is upset, and they can get you for loss of consortium.
Yes.
Basically, you can't do the things for me that you used to be able to do, right? And so their wife has a right to sue.
That's true.
All right. Which is not far-fetched, because not every spouse is fired up about the fact that you've got this new weight training hobby. So think about the fact that when your friends are coming over to work out with you, it seems to me like you would need to have umbrella protection. Where would they get this? Is this under homeowners, or is this under a car policy?
It is actually a separate standalone product that under most circumstances is going to be pretty inexpensive, maybe $200 to $300 a year for $1 million of excess coverage.
Right.
But it is a standalone policy. But it does umbrella over the home and the auto.
Nice.
So this example we talked about with the home comes into play, but also you T-bone somebody on the road and they are severely injured, they sue you. The umbrella is going to be over and above that. That's
actually something else to consider, because let's say you guys decide you're going to compete together. You're all driving in your car to go to a competition.
Right.
There's a wreck. Well, then they're all going to come to you.
Yep, and you're liable for your passengers.
Yeah, and it doesn't take a lot of people getting injured in the car for it to quickly go over your liability limits.
Correct.
So one thing I want to go back to with the homeowner's policy covering equipment that I forgot to ask is, homeowner's policy automatically covers that, but in your experience, how likely is it that somebody who lives in an apartment is going to have renter's insurance?
We're seeing it more than we used to, because now we're seeing a trend of apartment complexes require a minimum of $50,000 worth of liability coverage, but that's all they care about.
Right.
The resident needs to be the one that is caring about their own personal property, their furniture, their appliances, their electronics, and their clothes. And in the case you're talking about, home gym equipment needs to be relevant as well now. So folks that have gym equipment in their apartment need
or rental house.
That's exactly right. That's right. That personal property coverage, they need to do a more thorough job of figuring out how much it would accumulate to, and they need to include that. I think it gets missed now.
Okay. So in the case of someone who's renting a home,
yes,
is this something that's scheduled, or is it still, is the equipment scheduled item, or is it still just the same way it would be for homeowners? You need to itemize it, video it.
You would need to itemize it. That's exactly right. So, for example, if my furniture, electronics, appliances, and clothes tally $20,000 estimated, but then I've got a $2,500 amount of gym equipment, then I need $22,500 for everything
to replace that.
But it still would need to be scheduled.
Right. Now, if and this is we start talking about if a tragedy happens, it doesn't even have to be your landlord's fault, because I think that's what happens a lot of times with a renter. They're like, oh, well, if it's my landlord's fault, he'll pay for it. But if you take a situation like the floods that you just had from the Hurricane Michael,
right,
or something like the fires that we had in California recently, in Northern California recently, that's not your landlord's fault. But if you want to have that stuff covered, you need to be able to say to a total loss adjuster, this is what I had. Am I right?
That is correct, yes. Okay. Because the key thing to keep in mind is that the landlord is only going to be interested in replacing his structure that he owns.
Okay.
your personal property is of no relevance to the landlord.
Okay. Awesome. I really appreciate it. Is there anything I didn't ask you, Tevis, that you think might be important? Tevis is a home gym guy too. I've researched my insurance agents thoroughly. I only associate with people who work out at home. All right. But is there anything you think that I could that I didn't ask you that you think would be relevant for someone who owns a home or who has a home gym to know about from an insurance perspective?
I think we covered it pretty thoroughly from a personal property standpoint and the liability standpoint, which really encompasses everything. But I think the key will always be have a conversation with your agent on an annual basis. And anytime you think of something that you're uncomfortable with or unsure about, simply reach out to your agent. And if you don't have an agent and you only have a call center 1-800 number, I would encourage you to at least try to find a local agent so you can walk in and look at them and hold them accountable if something happens.
Awesome. Well, I hope this was helpful. If you guys want any more information or you want us to do a follow-up with Tevis or about any of these topics, then just drop a comment and we'll be sure to jump right on it. Appreciate you guys watching.